Good morning slash good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing this Sunday morning, afternoon? Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you're all in the best of health, best of wealth. Hope you're being the best version of yourself you could possibly be. Like always, that's the only way to be in today's society anyway, guys. So yeah, welcome to my channel, guys. Joey Barnett TV. I've been watching my subscribers go up slowly but surely. Wins the race for me. Reading, I do read all my comments, so yeah, I'll try my hardest to reply underneath every single comment. It might take me a few hours, it might take me a few days, but I'll always get back to you. As far as I'm concerned, if you've got the time to watch my videos and watch my content and comment underneath my videos, then I've got the time to reply to you. Yeah, it's all about gratitude and having respect for each other, and I've got that in abundance, guys. Yeah, the sun's coming out now. There's a little bit of a rainbow coming, so yeah, guys, sorry about the bit of noise, because as you can see, I'm on the side of the road, but as promised on my community post the other day, I did say that I'd upload or do some content about a few prisons what I've been in. And the reason why I like doing these content about videos is really because that's what you guys want to see. You know, you like, as far as I'm concerned, you like hearing the nitty gritty stories and the blood, sweat and the tears. Not that, you know, there's anything wrong with that whatsoever, because let's get it straight, there's nothing good about a boring video, is there? And I'm far from boring. I've got so much content to bring, it's unbelievable. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna have a little chat with you now about prison staff, or prison screws, or kangaroos, whatever you want to call them. Back in the day, I used to call them kangas because it was short for kangaroos. Being from southwest London, I've got that little bit of a London accent, and I'm proud of that anyway, guys. But yeah, so what I want to have a little chat with you about, as I said, is prison and a few prison officers. Now I'm going to be talking about the bad ones, the horrible ones, and there's not many of them in this system, to be totally honest with you, because you know, most of them realise and get an understanding that in long-term as jails, they need to be getting on with inmates, because you know, if like myself doing 12 years, you know, if a screw upset me, then you know, it didn't cost me nothing to have a pop or to have a crack at that screw, give them a right hander, because you lose a little bit of remission back in the day, but you'd mainly get it back over the years. So them screws were very aware of whose buttons to press and whose buttons not to press. And I didn't have my buttons pressed, to be totally honest with you. Maybe back in the day I did, especially in DCs. What I'm going to be talking about to you now, guys, along with adult prisons. First of all, I want to talk to you a little bit about HMP Send. Now, you had a PEI, a couple of PEI instructors. One was called Mr. Seekins, yeah, a big red birthmark down his face. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm just identifying him. And the other one was Mr. Shaw. Now, these screws here just hated anyone what committed crime, and they took their job, really, they abused their power, because they was literally hitting us kids, beating us kids up. One of my followers put a comment underneath one of my videos the other day, and he actually said to me he was in Send. I think he said it was around 1979, 1980, don't quote me on days or years, but it was around that time when he was in the gym and he see Mr. Shaw hitting a young offender, a young kid like myself, with a fire extinguisher around the back of the head. And you know, I got clumps a few times in there. I had my nose broken there. I went on visits. God, it's a bit sunny now, isn't it? I went on visits with broken noses, with blood all over my t-shirt, you know, and it was a brutal place. And there's quite a few inmates who have actually took them screws to court recently, because very recently I got contacted by a solicitor, because obviously they knew that I was in there by prison files and your previous convictions and bits and pieces like that. Yeah, they contacted me and asked me if I wanted to pursue charges on these officers. At the time I said no, because I didn't want to unravel a tin of worms, and I didn't want to, you know, give myself more PTSD than what I've got already. But yeah, HMP Send was a brutal place. We was made to scrub the corridors, the M1, with you know, a mop and a little scrubbing brush on our hands and knees, no kneeling pads. We was made to march, we was made to do bed packs. Every time an officer passed us, we had to say, "Excuse me, sir," even though he was passing us. And if you didn't, you got a slap. You know, they abolished detention centres because the brutality of what we suffered back in the day. And from Send, I went to Haslar and Aldington, so I'd done 3 DCs. I was glutton for punishment. And then I come straight out there and went into the young offenders. So by the time I got into the young offenders, you could say I was a professional at the game. Definitely not wet behind the ears about it. And the young offenders to me was a walk in the park after coming out of the DCs. So yeah, done Feltham, you know, Philomar Wood, Hunticum, all them white, Ollersey Bay, done all them Dover, Portland. What detention centres and young offenders, what I didn't do. But I did find in the youth youth custodies, the YOIs, we didn't get beaten up. We didn't really get, you know, abused, because that only happened in DCs. By the time they abolished the DCs and the young offenders come in, you know, the officers had to wear body cam and things like that. So, you know, their cover was blown. But yeah, HMP Send was definitely 100% the most brutal, vicious place, hello mate, I'd ever been to. Coming off of that, you know, I want to talk to you a little bit about Parkhurst. Now, there's a school in Parkhurst. He looked like what was his name out of Porridge? If you can tell me in the comments. Mr. What was his name? The horrible prison officer, the horrible screw with the grey hair. McCluskey or McCaskey or something like that. But Mr. Roper was a double of him, little moustache. He went out of his way, yeah, to cause trouble on inmates. It didn't matter how hard you was, who you was, how much time you was doing. He was one horrible officer, and I believe that he only come into the job to abuse his power, you know. I got told that when the riots happened in Parkhurst after I left there, he got severely hurt, and I mean severely hurt. And you know, I don't wish that on no one, but God, if anyone deserved it, it was him. He kept nicking me, you know. He kept putting me on report. You know, he was doing things like stopping my phone calls, stopping my visits, holding my mail back, anything to do with the outside, he was stopping it. And you know, when you do that to an inmate, you know, you really, it's horrible. It's the most horriblest thing, because obviously that's the only, you know, that was the only thing what I had to the outside world. My family was my everything, my world, and he was interrupting that. He was stopping that. You know, he come into my cell one day. I had a few photos on the wall, and he done like a bars and bolts and all that caper. He ripped all my photos off of the wall. One of them had a rip down them, you know, and it was a photo of my mother, so very close to me. Saying what, you know, I was very what's the word for it? I can't think the word for it, but very protected over my mum. And yeah, I asked him and another officer what happened to my photo, and he said, "You're not allowed photos on the wall. They've got to be on a picture board." And we took them down. So, you know, he didn't admit to ripping them down, but I know it was him what ripped him down. So because of he done that, what I done is, you know, I don't know if I should be saying it on my YouTube, but I give him a bucket of piss and I give him a bucket of shit. I stirred it up. I kept it in, you know, in the showers for a few days, put a load of baby oil in it, you know, give it a good stir. And then one morning when I woke up with the right zig, the right you know, I went to the office, I see him in the office, I pulled the door open, I patted him on the shoulder, I said, hello Mr. Roper, I've got something for you, and donk, I went straight over his head with it, and that was Mr. Roper. And I think I was one of the only inmates to ever do that to him. But yeah, they obviously bent me up, put me down this seg, and put me on good order and discipline, and I was down the seg for probably about 15 or 16 months, under solitary confinement, you know, no TV in my cell, nothing whatsoever. They also put me in a padded cell because I went on a dirty protest. I put shit all around the walls, put shit all over myself, and the reason why I'd done that was just to let them know, you know, I'm at my worst, this is at my lowest. Don't you know, try and rattle my cage, because, you know, I've got nothing to lose whatsoever. So what they used to do is, in the ceiling, you know, which would have been upstairs to them, they had a little spy hole, and, you know, they kept spying down at me, and they kept coming to my door and, you know, aggravating me, really aggravating me. So somehow I got a bit of tissue with a bit of horrible stuff on it, went up onto the ceiling and stopped the spy hole. So I blocked the spy hole up, I blocked my door up, my little window up on my cell, you know, blocked all that up and stopped that access for them seeing me, aggravating me. And then they'd come in 5-6 handed, muffed up, all security up, all full body armour. They'd rip me out of the cell, you know, back up, you know, put your back to the wall, put your back to the all that caper, get on your knees. And then they come in, you know, and bent me up like a chicken, put my arms up my back, my legs up my back, and then they kept moving my cell. And every time they kept moving my cell, I'd done the same thing. And that went on, as I said, for about a year. But yeah, this is all down to that Mr. Roper. He was one horrible dog officer. And, you know, I wasn't the only one what he done that to. He done it to every single inmate in there. No one liked him. He didn't like no one. And I think he had, like, his brother-in-laws and his family was also working in there. So if you upset him, you know, it was because you're on the island, you upset a lot of them, and it was a ripple effect, you know. And that's why I went on a dirty protest. I wanted out of that jail, you know. But because that was one of the jails what I got sent to at first, I always, every time I got shipped out and ghosted out of different jails, I always went back to that jail, you know. And every time I went back there, straight from reception, they put me straight down this seg, you know, because it was on my page 16, it was on my records that I was trouble. And they, you know, they didn't want me on the wings. You know, I did go on the wings at first, you know, and I was on there with Paul Massey from Manchester, rest in peace, Paul, and a few other big names. But it was just a horrible, grim, grey jail, and you could see the writing was on the walls that there'd been some very, very serious cases in there, you know. Back in the day, it was a good jail, but when they lost their Category A status, it turned around, and they took it back with a vengeance. They really did. But, you know, if you're watching this video, Mr. Roper, karma caught hold of you. And, you know, I don't wish any harm on anyone these days, but I'll tell you something now, he traumatised me, and I've got PTSD from him. So if anyone needs karma, it was definitely him. And that's what he was doing to everyone. You know, if he didn't like you, you know, he was like on the senses. He'd see the letter was to you, addressed to you, your name on it, your number on it, and he would stop your letter and he'd give you it a week later. So, you know, you'd be on the phone to your family, and your family would be saying, did you get your mail? Did you get your letters? Did you get your photos? No. And that kept going on for weeks, you know, and all of a sudden, yeah, it landed. But it had been posted 2 weeks ago, so he was holding letters back, you know. He was stopping people going on their visits. He used to stare at people, screw at people, and if you look back at him, he'd have a pop at you, you know. He was one of them types of officers, one dog horrible officer. Yeah, so you had him, Mr. Roper of Parkhurst, you had Mr. Seekins of Send, and you had Mr. Shaw of Send. These three officers was all horrific bullies, you know, abused their power, to be honest with you, that really did. But yeah, hope you enjoy my content, guys, and I'll be back at you shortly. Peace.